What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Molly's Mind, here with my special co-host of my Tuesday Corin's World segments, Molly. We haven't done one of these in what? How long would you say?
Well, we did one in Texas. We did a Mother's Day one.
Oh yeah, so it's been a good amount of time.
It's been a while, and even then, it wasn't like a traditional Molly's Mind.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're back, and we have a topic that is sort of near and dear to us both right now, even growing up. The topic is travel and traveling, and whether that's vacation or being away, together, separate, as a family. It's something that this past month, if you've been following on Corin's World, the travel vlogs, I've been a lot of different places. Molly and Nick's have tried to meet up with me in some of these places because we feel it's important to not be away for such an extended amount of time, especially with a young daughter. So I wanted to ask you, what is your thoughts on the importance of traveling and your thoughts just around traveling in general?
That's a big question.
Okay.
Well, I think it's important to travel, to see other places, see other people. I mean, if you always just stay in your bubble, you are never going to experience anything else in the world. You're never going to, some people live in New York State, where I'm from, in upstate New York, and have never even been to Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, where I'm from and Manhattan are completely different places.
Mm-hmm.
It's so different. I mean, really, any small rural or suburb type place is very different than a big city and the way people live their lives in a big city. And I think it's important to travel, and even if it's within your own state,
what
or
would you even
drive,
say?
I think it's important.
So where I'm from in Westchester, we were fortunate to be about 15-20 minutes from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So New York City is a melting pot. Everybody knows there's people of all different ethnicities, there's different languages. So I got to experience all of that.
Mm-hmm.
For you, living upstate New York in a small town, Rochester was probably like your biggest town.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you say?
Funny. Really quick thought. When I go back to Rochester and people are like, "Oh, we're going out in the city tonight,"
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, you're going to Manhattan?"
Yeah.
But they mean Rochester because
that's everywhere.
I know that's like here people say the city, Chicago, but
Yeah.
it went after living in Manhattan and then going back to Rochester. I was like, it's just not the same.
But would you say that it was beneficial to even go into Rochester from time to time? Because I'm sure there were more diverse people than there were in just the town you were from.
So for me, I did karate. I've said this before. Growing up, my whole life started at 3, did it all the way through high school, a little bit in college,
Mm-hmm.
and our school was like 45 minutes away from where I lived, and it was always in Rochester or, past Rochester. And we also traveled a ton for karate to a lot of different places. So I got outside of the town I grew up in. Also, my dad being from Brooklyn, after he came to the U.S., being in Brooklyn, so lots of Guyanese culture, lots of, being in Brooklyn with family. And then my mom's from the Bronx, so like going to visit their family, I did go to Manhattan often. I can't say like I was someone who hung out in Rochester ever.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, I don't know how to get anywhere. I don't know where anything is. We never really just like went to Rochester for the day, maybe to the museum or the water park, things like that. But I more so got exposure to different things through karate and through traveling with karate, and we did a lot of road trips with that and got a lot of different exposure that way. So for me, I think to answer your question, it wasn't really Rochester specifically, but
you would even in high school, and I hear a lot of people from smaller towns, like they would do their senior trips to New York City or something like that, and it was like these memories that like they still have today. I think, I don't know, no, Stephanie didn't mention it, but like...
She won, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, like, I feel like that was a very memorable trip for people, was traveling within their like high schools to like a big city or something like that.
So for my high school, we get on a big like
Greyhound,
Greyhound type bus, and the, whole senior class, we go from Rochester, or, the town I'm from, to New York City, and you go see the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty,
Ellis Island.
like, we went to Ellis Island.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually did the Statue of Liberty, but we went to a Knicks game. We went to the Blue Man Group. We got to go to Times Square, and there's certain things that are like, don't do the subway, but they give you like free blocks of times where you get to explore a little bit. We stayed in a hotel downtown, things like that. But like I said before, a lot of people where I'm from, that was their first time going to Manhattan. I don't know how you live in a state where you have Manhattan.
New York's a big state.
It's like a 5.5 hour drive.
Yeah,
How
I
do
guess
you
so.
never take your kids?
I'm always fascinated when people don't, when I'll ask someone if they've ever been to New York, and they're like, no, I've never been.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that...
There's so many people who never leave never leave the state where they live. It's just
but, like,
not,
I look at
they
it as,
didn't grow up that way.
But I look at it as the reverse, and, like, now that we've lived in, like, we're outside of Chicago, but practically Chicago. When I lived in New York, it never even crossed my mind to even go to Chicago, and it's, like, such a booming city. There's big... like skyscrapers, and there's architecture tours, and there's tons of stuff to do.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think, like, am I missing something in South Dakota or something like that?
I
Like,
think we
that's
are
why...
missing things in other states. I mean, I would love to travel, and I think I've told you this before. If not, maybe this is the first time you're hearing it, and it's something we're going to be doing. But I want to take Nix to every state before she's 18, before she leaves our house. We're already...
Every state?
Every state. She's already at like 10 or 11, so we don't have that many,
But how, even like in Alabama or something like that, like how would we end up in Alabama?
We find a reason to go.
Oh, okay.
We find something. I mean, every state has like, like Montana, like we...
Yeah, every state has something symbolic, I feel like, and that's what puts them on the map. Like, put in the comment section if you could think of a state that doesn't have like a monument or a landmark or something that people are like, oh, if you go to North Carolina, you got to see the whatever.
But even if it's Alabama, you go to like a football game or like,
every
because you're so into sports, and like we've already taken her a bunch of games, but you can go to like the different states and those that have sports teams. Maybe you go for that because there's different reasons why you can go to states. Obviously, certain states, there's more, it's more enticing to go there.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much to offer within our country and traveling within the United States from a nature perspective, but also from kind of just like a cultural perspective. Like, we also don't really travel. Like, when we were in New Orleans, we were like right there kind of in the heart of New Orleans. Like, we weren't going out into the kind of outskirts and things like that, which... it is kind of cool to also do that when you travel.
Well, I saw that when I was in Texas. I mean, like, so I don't know where people go when they travel to Texas, but if you're going on vacation, you're probably going to, like, Austin or Dallas or, like, these big cities. But, like, something I had to do was go to these different high schools in smaller towns, and I had to go to a repair shop in this small town in North Dallas, and it's just, like, I was having a conversation with a guy who's just lived there his whole life, and he was telling me about like the high school football program and how like all the power from the town goes to the lights on the stadium, and like how it's just a whole big thing, and it's just something that I would have never known. And it was pretty cool to just interact with this guy because like he's got his whole life experiences. I don't know his like political beliefs, I don't know his religious beliefs, but like I didn't want to get into that with him, but like the fact that we were just having a connection on like a very personal level, like he was telling me about his town and I was telling him about New York, was really cool, and it's something that I'll remember, and he probably thought I was a really nice guy, and maybe if I did have a conversation with him about politics or something like that, I'm sure we probably would have disagreed, but like maybe he would have gave me the benefit of the doubt because I was, we were like talking and connecting on something that he thought, like,
Are you just assuming he has different political views?
No, I'm just saying if he did have different political views, like, I mean, there's a lot of conservatives down in Texas, but like, it was just cool to get outside of my bubble and talk to someone and learn about their little world, because like, everyone has their own little world within their world, and you don't see that stuff unless you travel around a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to travel. So, I think we've both been lucky to be able to go within the U.S. and kind of go with both of us travel for work, but also for vacation for ourselves and kind of traveling.
So I think we all, I mean, I think a lot of people agree that traveling is beneficial to knowledge and all this stuff. When you were younger, and I did it also, but you said you did a lot of family road trips. Like, what do you think the importance of family road trips are? Like, do you think there's something about bonding with your siblings in a car that, you know, strengthens your family relationship that compared to like flying or something like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm one of 7, so flying just really wasn't like,
yeah, especially now with the way flights are expensive.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, it just wasn't a thing. Like, I think before high school, I had been on maybe 1 or 2 flights to California because we had family there, and so we would go there. But other than that, we pretty much drove. And so my dad, we sometimes traveled with him for work, which was always awesome, which is why I love that we can kind of sometimes bring Nick's and like start those memories, because I always loved doing that. And then we traveled for karate, and so when we traveled for karate, we would get a 15-passenger van, and we would pile in, and sometimes traveling with other families, so we'd take like a bunch of cars and we'd like stop at rest stops and restaurants, and like the whole experience of it was just so much fun. So not only being with our siblings but also being with other families, and then we would always get like a couple of suites at a hotel, and we would all share, and like, you know, we'd have like 20 people in these suites, and we would, you know, me and my siblings would obviously always have the floor and adults would have the beds, but it was just always such a fun time, and like exploring the different hotels. And I mean, and you know, from going to Florida and doing that as well, it's always just a really fun time, and kind of some of my most memorable moments as a kid are around karate and those road trips we took, and kind of even just getting to the events and all the fun that we had with it. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, when we were younger, we would do like it was just like I don't know if it was annual or biannual, but we would always drive down to Florida. We'd go New York to Florida, and yeah, I give my father a lot of credit, but he would just like beast out this whole drive, and we would like plug into the cigarette outlet a TV, and we'd sit in the back, and me, my brother, and my sister, and we'd watch these movies. Watch like Mr. Baseball and Little Giants and all these movies, and like it was great bonding time, and I thought it was super beneficial to like I know about like south of the border in like
I love south of the
border.
It's
just like you have all these checkpoints and like remembrance places, and you learn. I mean, like, I know some of the state capitals because my sister would sing a song with like we would just think of all these creative games to play. Like there was a license plate game, or like I'm going to the grocery store, and it's just like all these games that probably now are obsolete, because if you're doing a road trip, you probably have iPads and all this stuff. But
but even then we had Game Boys and things like that. But you know, once they die, and you know, we were only allowed to use them once we got to a certain point and things like that. But
yeah, no, I think road trips were super awesome, and I think they bring a lot of families together, and that's something that we've done a lot of because we drive from Illinois back to New York, and now we've been trying to travel a lot with our daughter and bring her places. She's very young, and she probably won't remember any of this stuff, but it's still, I think there's something like just like energy-wise of her being on a plane and like being in a different area.
But I think it's also getting her used to that early. Like I've traveled as long as I can remember. Like and you, I think your mom said you went to Florida on your first flight, like literally the week you were born. So we both like traveled early, and neither of us have any fears when it comes to travel or anything like that. So I think that's really, and we're both very open to exploring. I'm not trying to like toot our own horns. I'm just saying in terms of travel, like I wanted to get Nick's to do that early, so when she's older, it's not like I'm so scared to fly, or I'm not gonna sit in a car for so long, especially with road trips. We've started since she's really young, just like 2 months old. We did like a 10-hour road trip, so we've done it.
Where I do most of the driving.
Yes, that's true. I normally sleep, but still.
If you watch any road trip vlogs, it's usually me driving, then panning the camera over to Molly, and she's like passed out.
I have footage of Corin sleeping too. I sometimes drive.
But I don't know if it's starting to hurt my back now, but like that's something that I have to be cautious of also is just like my back starting to hurt, and I don't
Well,
know
you
if
have
that's
to,
because of like driving.
People are going to come after you in the comments about you not being healthy, and it's all connected. It's all connected.
There's certain things that are connected. Like my dad has a bad back, and he used to do all of his road trips with his wallet in his back pocket, and he wouldn't take his wallet out of his back pocket until we got to like Maryland.
You think that's the only reason why?
It's probably a big factor.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted, so we talked a lot about travel in the U.S. I'm taking over for a second. Travel in the U.S., but what are your thoughts on traveling outside of the U.S.? We have never, not once, traveled out of the U.S. together.
Oh, I was gonna say Hawaii, and then I remembered that.
Hawaii was amazing, but we haven't been out of the U.S. together.
We haven't?
No.
No, we've had to have been somewhere.
No, we haven't. Every time you go to ER, you leave me home. You go to Colombia without me. Since we've been together,
we've been to Canada. Have we been to Canada?
Okay, shout out to any Canadians, but yes, we did go to Niagara Falls like the week after we got married.
Yeah, and we went to Swiss Chalet.
Yes, which was my favorite
so
restaurant.
So we've actually been to a different country.
Okay,
yes.
fine. We went to Canada.
Okay. So I have facts here.
I forgot about Canada because growing up an hour from Canada, like you don't consider it like.
No, I know.
Another country.
I know what you mean, but I visited my sister when she went abroad to school in Czech Republic, and I had to granted I just flew on the plane and got to Prague, and my sister met me and we went around, and I wasn't really speaking the language, but I still had to maneuver through the airport in a different country, and it was interesting because it's people don't speak the same language of you, so you have to figure out a way to get what you want, and you have to be assertive, and you have to know how to point well, and you have to be able to.
I don't think you're giving enough credit. A lot of people in Czech Republic speak English.
Oh, okay, but I'm saying when you travel though, to another country where they don't English isn't their first language,
right? But a lot of places you go, people speak English.
They do, but I mean, you should sort of adapt to the language of the other country. It's when people come here and they're oh, speak English or whatnot. I mean, at least give it an effort.
I shouldn't say that because there are obviously places people don't speak English. That was me being kind of an ignorant American. But if you go to the bigger cities, we have an office for work in Brno, which is in Czech Republic, and they do all the training in that office in English because there's so many different languages that come together in Brno. It's kind of like a little melting pot within Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So there's so many different languages that the one common language is actually English. So I was just I don't know if Prague is like that, but also if you go to Paris or if you go to bigger cities in countries, there is a lot of English. Yeah. But yeah, you do have to kind of be ready and you can't just learn the language, but
yeah. But at least it makes you put yourself out there to at least make an effort to try, if you just went there speaking English and not willing to try and learn the language or pick it up a little bit, it's sort of you're just staying within your own little bubble, where I give my brother a lot of credit. He went abroad in Dominican Republic, and a lot of times people go abroad to school and they stay within their English circles and don't they'll go to a English speaking bar or something like that, and maybe one night, and I'm just stereotyping, I don't know actually, but for my brother, he really.
But I think your brother is very into that culture.
Yeah, I think he would have done the same though if he had went to school in Russia.
Yeah, I agree, but he probably wouldn't have gone to school in Russia.
No.
I think he's very into the Dominican culture specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak for him.
But it
just from what I know.
Yeah, it just my point is the more you embrace your travels and not stay in your ways, the more enjoyment you'll get out of a trip or something like that.
But for me, traveling abroad, I get a lot of anxiety.
Why?
And I've never traveled abroad with you, but.
You get a lot of anxiety traveling locally.
I know, and
we have to get to the airport
and
super
someone
early.
who's yeah, you should travel. I'm not scared of flying at all, but I don't like being late in general. Like that, like I don't like being late to anything,
Yeah.
not just traveling. So like,
But there's
when
one thing for being late, and then there's another thing of like stressing about being late. Like when
yeah,
it's not even time.
It doesn't matter. I don't like being late. I like being on time. I grew up in a family that was perpetually late for everything. We were late to every single thing. I was always late picked up. I was always so like I don't like being late. I think I don't like it. And so like when I fly, I also like I don't want to be rushed. I don't want to like feel like I don't have enough time and I'm worried about missing my flight, which when I was just coming home from Montreal, LaGuardia Airport is a mess, and it took us like, I don't know, like 30 minutes to get, like, we were in the airport, but like to where it dropped me off. And I was having so much anxiety that I was going to miss my flight. Like, I don't like that. I don't like having to think like, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to have time to use the restroom before I board my flight. Like, what if I miss my flight? I don't like that. I just want to get there early. So I do like to get to the airport like 2 hours
But
before
a lot of that
takeoff.
anxiety you get traveling is like, you put that upon yourself. Because I know when we go to the airport,
yeah,
like,
but
I'll even say, yeah, we'll leave early. But then it's like, still like that stressfulness of leading up to like even leaving early.
No,
Like,
once I'm like at the airport and like I know we're there, I'm like, fine.
yeah.
It's like if we're not there on time, then I get anxiety. But okay, let me go back to traveling abroad and why I have anxiety.
Okay.
So I have anxiety, one, because of the movie Taken. I'm going to Europe next month, and I'm flying by myself, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll have like a stopover in Madrid for like a full day. And then I was like, I'm not going to a country by myself. I'm not, like, I'm meeting my sister in Dublin, so I'm
That
okay
goes
with
away
it.
from what we just argued right here is
But
traveling
I never
by
said,
yourself.
when did I say travel by myself?
Oh, I've traveled
I'll travel by myself in the U.S., but I when I don't know the language, what if I get into an Uber and like they're taking me and kidnapping me?
It's probably
like,
just as unsafe here in getting
it
an
is
Uber and
unsafe
it
here,
happening.
but like at least I know the language and like I know
911.
I know what the signs means. Like I know how to read the map. Like I don't know. It's just like it's just as dangerous here in the U.S. Obviously, there's plenty of things that happen here that are not okay. But at least in the U.S., like I for sure speak the language here and I know how to read all the signs and things like that. Whereas like in another country, like I've been in other countries, which actually when I was in Prague, we took an Uber and the Uber driver didn't speak English, and literally we couldn't find the Uber. Like telling us where to meet the Uber, we couldn't find it, and I was like having an anxiety attack. Like I'm literally gonna be lost here in Prague, and we're never gonna get home. I wasn't by myself, thankfully, but things like that where I just can't go alone. But I have loved going to other countries, and trying different foods that I wouldn't normally try. I am very picky and I don't try everything, but at least trying some of the different like local things that people eat and just seeing different things that you don't see normally and the architecture and things like that has been a really great experience. I mean, I would definitely say I'm not a well-traveled person, and I wouldn't really say
I would say you are.
Outside of the country?
I mean, you've been to Czech Republic, you've been to like where, Japan?
Yeah, Japan, Malaysia, Czech Republic,
Canada,
United Kingdom, Canada.
That's pretty well traveled.
Paris. I mean, yeah, but like not, I don't know, like I think of my sister who's been to like every country in Asia and like just kind of like deep travels in those places and doing, like I've gone for like shorter times. I mean, I've gone places, which has been a great experience, but I think there's just, but I also really like traveling within the U.S. Like I'm totally content taking our vacations here because there's so much to see and I know the language and like I don't know. But I
could see how that like I could see how it's stressful in other countries, like trying to figure out stuff to do because there's different currencies, so you have to calculate how much things cost, and like you said with transportation, it's not like they have Uber and stuff like that, but maybe it's like a different format. Like it's unknown to us, and it's just like that figuring it out, which is Some people love that, figuring it out and
Yeah.
looking at a map and figuring out what to do, and other people just want to have it, provided to them. And like they know this is X amount of dollars and it's going to be for this many hours.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to another country, you don't know all those things.
Yeah.
And it's that like unknown, like sort of like rush you get with the like curiosity that comes with being in a different country.
Yeah.
Something that gets me nervous, or not nervous, but like is just a little annoying, is when you go on a vacation, the whole like pre and post travel, like the traveling to get to your destination. I talk about this with Kyle, is like driving to the airport, being in the airport, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
By the time you get to your actual destination, you're just like, I don't want to do anything now because I've done so much to get to this point.
And then you need a vacation from your vacation when you get
Yeah.
home, and to pack and wait. So I see you snooping at my questions. I have two questions.
Because sometimes you write stuff down like, this is garbage or something like that. So I was just peeking to see if that was what you were writing down.
That's not what I'm writing down. So I have two questions for you. So one, I'll ask first. Ideal travel. Like, are you a beach and kind of go to a place that there's nothing to do there except for the beach and lay out the whole time? Or are you a kind of sightseeing, go see the orangutans?
I don't know. You could probably answer the question yourself. What do you think?
I've never gone somewhere with you where there's not things to do. Like, if we go to Miami, we'll go to the beach, but we'll also do other things. I would think you're more of a doer on vacation.
Yeah.
But you would also like to have warm weather where you can, if you want to go to the pool or the beach, you can, but you want to have things to do. You want you don't want to sit around all day.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, like, and you haven't been, but it's so awesome, like, when I go to Colombia with Jed.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a little, like, tight at this point because we've been together, going on 11 years, and I have not once been invited on any of these trips. And I've said since day one...
Well, those are guys' trips.
Well, let's make it a family trip.
There's
it's
guys'
rude.
trips,
At this
there's
point,
family trips.
At this point, it's a little bit rude.
Not really.
It's a lot of bit rude, but
Well,
whatever.
so Jed does a really good job of, like, planning out the trip, so it's like... It's almost like like Hawaii was great because it's like there's the beach. Yes, that's like your default. You can obviously always go to the beach, but we did snorkeling or we did hiking and we climbed the mountain. Like there's all this other stuff you can do, and then have a default of like, all right, we could always just go to the beach.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, an ideal travel spot for me. I mean, like some people like to go to like Montana. Like Montana, I guess, is a popular destination spot.
I would love to go there. But there's like...
It's just mountains and stuff.
Yeah,
and
like sightseeing and things like that.
Yeah, like a lot of hiking. Like
yeah, you wouldn't like that?
No, I would. And I like Colorado for that too,
Yeah.
because you can go skiing or like hiking. We've done hiking.
But I feel like what you wouldn't like is like a Bahamas where it's only like the beach or the pool. I don't know. I've never been there, but
I've been to Bahamas.
I'm trying to
There was a casino too. We went in high school and then got
Okay,
freaked out.
but just think of a place where, or like a little island where the only thing to do is the beach or the pool and lay out. Like there's not much. There may be a couple restaurants. Like that's really it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can get by with that.
But it's not a place you could like. That's not your ideal destination.
No.
And I think we're very similar in that sense. I don't like laying out. If I'm at a beach, I want to be in the water or in the pool.
Yeah.
I'm like a water person.
You could stay in the water for a while.
I could say, like I don't need to lay out and get a tan, and I don't care about that anyways. I want to like cliff jump, skydive, like something.
What do you
fun
think
and
the
adventurous.
longest? So I was just away for like an extended, practically like a little over a month. What do you think for our relationship is like the amount of time you can be away without, seeing each other again? Like I just heard Mark Wahlberg on TV when he films a movie, like he'll try to come back on the weekends and see his family, but he said they won't go like 2 weeks without seeing each other. Do you think that's long?
I don't think that's that long. I mean, I think...
So you think we can go like a month or so?
We just did.
No, but you came midway through and saw us.
Yeah.
Saw me.
I mean, we've gone long... When I went to Malaysia, I was gone for 2 weeks, and...
Yeah,
like,
but that's 2 weeks. Like a month or something is a long time.
If I went a month without
Well, that's the point of Molly's mind. You have to know.
I think I would be fine if I didn't see you. Obviously, I miss you when you're not here.
Yeah.
And
I think it's easier for us. It was like obviously I miss you, but it was harder like to be away from Nyx, you know, our daughter. If you have a young child, just because like you feel like you're missing something at every second.
Do you not remember like the beginning of our relationship? Like I was still in college and you had already graduated, and I went like long periods of time without seeing you. And then I was back in Rochester and you in Westchester, and I went like a couple of months without seeing. Like people do long distance all the time. It's just like, and thankfully we have technology, so like we FaceTime all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously I miss you, but I'm also busy like with work too. That and then like I go to work, come home, hang out with Nyx, and then like kind of just like have stuff to do too. So it's not like I'm just sitting here like.
Yeah.
Where's Corin? It's like obviously I miss you, especially on the weekends when I would love to go and do stuff as a family. But I mean, I miss you, but but that leads me to my other question actually.
Okay.
Which is travel guilt. So do you ever feel? I never really hear dad guilt, but people always say this term like, "Oh, I have mom guilt," blah blah blah. Do you ever feel dad guilt or travel guilt for like leaving Nyx?
Yeah, not even just like, yeah, I do. I mean, because I'll see she does something, or, you know, she's at an age where she's starting to do way more, or I want to be there and see all that and be a part of it. But like if I'm away, yeah, I feel guilty that I'm not there. But then again, like you also have to think like, I don't know, like I'm going to see her and see you like for the rest of my life, you know? So it's like, you can't get caught up in like those little moments that like you're missing something, because there's gonna be other moments. There's gonna be other times.
Something in my eye. I'm sorry. I have like a fuzzy or something.
That
really hurting.
Did you get it?
Do you see it?
It was in the middle of like a good point. No, I don't see it.
Okay. All right.
But there's always gonna be other moments or other times that like are just as important as something else. You know, like I don't get caught up. Like, obviously, like, their first steps are big, and you don't want to be away for that or something like that. But you can't really get too caught up in, like, missing something, because you're going to miss something at all times, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, and it's almost like I feel more guilty that I don't feel mom guilt, because I travel away from Nyx quite a bit as well. And I know I have some friends or see people on social media who have kids who are 2-3 years old who've never left their kids, and like, oh, I just feel so bad leaving them, which that's totally cool. But at the end of the day, like, I know us leaving her is for work, and that's important too. Like my career is also
it's probably good for her too to like not
to
be so with us every day at such a young age, to like be away from us. And like
kids are so resilient. Like obviously, you know, sometimes I'll FaceTime her and then my mom will say she definitely misses you guys, or you know, when we're both,
you could tell
when we're both gone.
I
feel really bad, which doesn't happen often, and it's only ever for like a day or two. But yeah, I mean, she's only one, and we've both traveled quite a bit and will continue to do so. But I think it's important to kind of also be your own person aside from being a parent. And so for both of us, work is important. And so if that requires us to travel for work, I mean, we could take a different job, do something different, but I think it's important to be happy in your work, and because then you are a better parent to your kid as well. So I don't feel guilty, but I think feel guilty not feeling guilty, because people like make it a thing. But
I think also for our relationship, and people always say like, oh, don't fight on Molly's mind or whatnot, but like sometimes traveling, I feel like strengthens our relationship too, because I know
agree. Sometimes I need a break from Corin.
Well, once, you know, like when we're together a lot, Molly is very naive and very stubborn.
Naive?
What's that? Yeah.
Naive is not the right word.
Well,
what
stubborn.
am I naive about?
Stubborn, and in her own ways, where she doesn't see my side of things, that we tend to clash heads sometimes.
I think the reality is Corin is a very single-minded person and doesn't consider the needs of other people. That's just the truth.
Okay.
I would say that's probably our biggest argument is that my opinion of Corin is he's a great guy, but he's also very narrow-minded and puts his needs above others. But that's okay. That's a topic for a different day.
But no, in all honesty, I feel like it strengthens our relationship when you're apart, and then when you get back together, it's like I don't know, it brings us closer together. I feel like because sometimes
I mean
seeing someone every single day is tough.
The reality of us living out here in Illinois is we have like some friends out here. But it's not like what we had in New York. So we're not like going out every night and doing all this stuff. So like we spend a lot of time together when we're home. So it is nice to just like have a night where just, after I put Nix to bed, I just kind of like sit and read a book and like it's quiet. The TVs aren't on and it's just like everyone needs that for the relationship, I think. So and then, if he's on the road, you have your hotel room, you can turn it down really cold, you can turn on the TV, and it's like a recharge. So, I don't know, I don't think we'll always travel for work forever. I don't know, maybe we will. But I think right now, it's just kind of part of our lives, and we've done it for quite some time now, so we're just used to it. But I think overall, outside of traveling for work, kind of just tie it all back together, I do think traveling traveling can be expensive, but even like a road trip, like we've taken so many just like day trips. We live in a place where we could drive to Iowa or we could drive to Ohio,
St. Louis,
like
or just something,
whatever, to go to a game or just to like.
And that's one thing I'll say
whatever.
too is when you travel is like take advantage of the city you're going to. Like I'll always try and look, and this is just because I'm passionate about sports, but like Molly has come around to it a little bit. It's just like I'll look to see if that city has a sport game on, or like if you're going to like Kansas City, you definitely want to like check out their barbecue. Like take advantage of what that city offers. Like if you're going to Nashville, like be open to like going to like a country music bar or something like that. Like don't just like go to Buffalo Wild Wings in Nashville or something like that. Like go to an authentic place.
Best things about traveling is like the different foods of like diners, drive-ins and dives places, like hole in the wall. That's how I learned that I love biscuits and gravy. I never had it my whole life, and then I think we went to Kansas.
No, we went to South Carolina and you got the biscuits. Biscuits and gravy at that small place.
Was that chicken and waffles?
That was in Charleston.
No, I know what place you're talking about, but was that?
No, that was biscuits and gravy,
waffles?
I think.
Oh, so maybe that was my first time, and that was like a couple of years ago, and it was like a hole in the wall, very dirty looking place, but it was so good. It was in downtown Charleston. Mm-hmm. I know exactly the place. I just thought I had chicken and waffles there.
That was biscuits
and then I had it again in Kansas, and now like whenever we're in the South, I'm like, we gotta find a biscuits and gravy place because that is like my go-to, and chicken and waffles. I love those.
And let me clarify, she doesn't mean Kansas is in the South, but like if we're...
It's more southern than us. And anyways, I said whenever we're in the South.
I know, I was just saying. Yeah, I know. I know.
Well, Kansas is in the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's more southern than us, though. But I was saying whenever I'm in the South, I look for biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, I know. And that's because, like, when we go somewhere, like, you like I said, you want to take advantage of what that city or state is known for. So, like...
Well,
you go to New York, you should get pizza.
If you go to New Orleans, you're not getting crawfish.
No, I'm not, but I'm going to get... What did I eat in New Orleans? I had a lot of... what is it? Popeyes is from Louisiana. I had a lot of chicken tenders.
Yeah, you went to a lot of different chicken spots. You had some beignets.
Yeah. So, like, I had all that stuff, but I'm not eating...
You don't eat seafood.
I don't eat seafood as it is, so I'm not having crawfish and all that crap.
Yeah.
But I go to Texas, I'm having barbecue. I go to California, I'm having a breakfast burrito.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I was saying, like, he should turn his vlogs into more of, like, food things, because you try a lot of different foods, and I like when I'm going places to look, it's, like, cool to see a video of it, because you can actually see what it looks like. I'm so behind on editing Corin's vlogs from Texas and Philly that he went to. I'm, like, a month and a half behind, but I'll find some time to do it. I've just been busy with work maybe this weekend, but we went to a lot of good food places in Texas.
Yeah, Texas was a lot, and Philly, I mean, their cheesesteaks are off the hook. I mean, there's Geno's and Pat's, but to my point earlier, Geno's used to have a sign that said, like, order only in English, and it was like they got a lot of slack or flack, whatever the word is, for it because they weren't open to, you know, like, it was just very, like, I don't know, racist. But what's my point?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. You should be open to, like, all different ethnicities.
Yeah, people eating your food and whatnot and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think one time I asked you, I said, what's your bucket list, like, travel place? And you said Japan, right? Is that still the case? Which I was shocked. I would not think if you could pick anywhere in the world to travel to, you would say Japan.
Yeah, I don't know why, but, like, Japan has always just been, like, like a crazy place for me. I remember, like, a wrestler, Yokozuna, used to come out and he, like, would hold a big Japan flag behind him, and, like, there's just, like, I had a weird connection to, like, sumo wrestling. Like, it's just, like, a weird...
So, in Japan...
different spot that I would love to see because it looks, like,
I can think of one thing I saw in Japan that you would absolutely love, and that, like, in the street, they had, like, it was almost like go-karting.
Really?
Have you ever seen that? Like, it was, like, it was, I don't even want to say the name of the place I was because I'm going to butcher it. It was, like, Shibuya or something. But it looked like almost like Mario Kart racing come to life. It was really cool. And they also have really good candy in Japan. But
yeah.
I like brought a bunch home and it was so good.
I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese, but those little, like, chocolate sticks.
Those poke
Everyone
sticks.
used to have those
growing
growing
up.
up.
Japanese.
And then there's also this, like, water with, like, a little, like, circular ball in the cube top.
I think that's Japanese, right? Because you get it at sushi restaurants.
Well, and they used to have, like, there used to be this Japanese grocery store across from Dairy Dell where we grew up, and I would go there and get those, like, I don't know if it was water or, like, some flavored drink, but it had that little ball in there.
I don't know what is in my eye, but it's, like, really
and, like,
bothering me.
Pokemon cards is probably the mecca in Japan still. You can get some dope Game Boy games.
So your bucket list place is Japan, so we'll have to find a way to go there someday. My bucket list place is Australia.
Yeah.
And now that Randy is living there with Emma, we have a reason to go.
Yeah.
So that is where I really want to go.
Yep, those are two places to definitely
on our bucket list.
Check off. Back to Hawaii again.
Yeah, I would love to go back to Hawaii. That was in the U.S., but, like,
you don't feel
beautiful, like the beach, the surfing, and, like, but then, like,
and
cliff jumping, adventure, like,
yeah, there's everything to do. It's very expensive, and traveling is expensive. So if you want to travel, I would say just do local, like, road trips, because all you're paying for is the gas, and try and find places. Rental car, but try and find places where you have friends that are, like, that live there, and stay with them. And you know, that's always the best thing is when I travel somewhere, I'll try and see if I have a friend that lives there, and I'll meet up with them, and I'll grab a drink, and like, they know the place way better than you do, so they'll say, like, hey, let's go to this local bar, or let's eat this type of food, this is a good spot. Like, so definitely reach out to people that you know in different cities and travel and visit them, because that's
if anyone we know ever wants to come visit Chicago, we've had a lot of visitors.
Yeah, I'll tell you some dope spots to go to. We always have an open door
for anyone, regardless of the time of year, what's going on in our lives. We for all of our friends, it's, you know, we're always here. But
that's travel.
Anything else on travel?
No, hopefully you got that thing in your eye.
I didn't, and that's why I'm like, we gotta end this because it's really bothering me. But where to next? I'm going to Wisconsin this week. That's, you know.
Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you're going to Pennsylvania. But
I'm
going to Dublin and the UK next month. I'm excited for that trip, so that'll be fun.
I would say, I think the Guinness factory is in Dublin, maybe. Yeah. And
I'm going with my sister, and she's a traveler, so I'm thinking I'm gonna kind of leave it up to her, to plan things.
That's also another thing is if you're traveling in a group or with someone, just be open to where they're going, because sometimes that causes a lot of rift between people. Is if you don't want to go where they go, but just be open to going different places. Because I'm very opinionated on where I want to go, and I feel like it's the right spots, food wise, or the game or something. And if I've had people that have traveled with me that have been very open to it, and I feel like they've had a good time. But then other people that aren't, and
the one challenge with traveling with Corin is if there's a sporting game. That's all he cares, especially if it's a bobblehead. He, like, gets his mind set on it, and it's like, well, I'm going to do this, and, like, that's what we're doing, which I'm usually pretty open to it. And
I'm also fine with going by myself, too, though.
Right. No, I know, but if it's, like, you need the car, you need a whole thing. But usually, like, if we're planning a travel, we'll look at the games ahead of time, and we're picking a date. We'll say, like, oh, we're going to LA. The Angels have a bobblehead this day. Let's book our trip that day. And, like, we plan it ahead of time, and we know, like, that's the day we're going to do that. And then the rest of your trip, you're pretty kind of, like, open on what we're going to do. So I think we travel well together, typically, until you annoy me. But, yeah.
All right.